See the German Ashkenazi Jew.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it's kind of baseless when she said that if you look at this picture, you'll see a castle in the back. Hollywood. Hollywood's ran by the Jews. And when they show a Western movie, they always show the tops of buildings on fire. That never happened in the Wild Wild West. Brush fires, things of that nature, burned down the whole village. That didn't happen. If you look at real cowboy history or at that time, that stuff didn't happen. But why did the Jews put that always in these movies? It was due to where they came from in Europe, where things were always being burnt down, buildings, burned down everything, burned the books. Nazi Germany. That's where that comes from. Um, and I can't find any history of any ancient Moroccan style buildings or medieval buildings that or castles that were built here. Now, there was great civilizations in South America. That is true, but a lot of that is underground. Like it was covered or ran over by rainforest. So we still don't today really know what happened to those people. The people have theories, but what happened to those people? Why is it that it looks like nothing ever existed there when they used to be great civilizations? That the only way you can tell that they were is same way with Sahara Desert being Atlantis is through LIDAR. You use LIDAR, look through the ground, and they can actually see the structures underneath the ground using radiation. So it's kind of comes off as a bit revisionist history because of the fact that no ruler is going and no people is going to accept a ruler who is outside of like on the other side of the world. Now I do believe there was trade. There was through the Caribbean, all throughout the Americas with Africa, all the way to Egypt, because it's a fact that they found cocaine and tobacco in Egyptian tombs, which are both native to America. So there was trade, there was all that stuff going on way before white folks. But the Moors actually making plant here and living here, that did happen, but not to the extent that people believe. Like you had Abu Bakr II, who traveled and brought, he never returned back to Africa. And he took 200 ships with him, only one returned. And that was because they were fearful. They didn't want to leave Africa. But everybody else, they never came back. So we know today that of Africa, West Africa, is the Americas. So they did land somewhere in between, depending on the current time of year they went. They landed somewhere in Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, or Florida. And you look at history and you see where you cross-reference it with written dialogues between Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci. They talked about the Ethiopians who warred with the northern mongrel-esque Native Americans. So the Native Americans we see today, not all of them are $5 Indians. They were here, but they came from the Bering Straits. They stayed to the north. And what happened when they started pushing them out west? They went where? To their homeland, the north. They went to Canada, which today, majority of Canada is Native American. Still to this day, it's majority Native American. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about it, but that's their homeland. The Red Indian, as we call them, that's their homeland. The South, or basically America, leading all the way down to South America, has always been a safe spot, safe place for our people. There was
Uh,
go ahead.
it's like a claim. A claim is a small word, but it's big than a motherfucker. So they claim a lot of things, and if you don't dispute that claim, it stands as true. So the claim is that, like I say, you're not from this land, you're not native, you're not this, you're not that. So you're not. But if you dispute that claim through an affidavit or whenever they say state your name for the record, they're giving you a chance to correct the record. Every time they say that, they're giving you a chance to correct it. But if you don't correct it, then it's business as usual. Then that's when they're saying is this is nothing personal, it's just a business. We're about to send you to jail, you're about to pay $90 or both. So when they say Christopher Columbus discovered America, you can dispute that claim. And you can ask for a redress of grievance for them costing this grievance on you. You know what I'm saying? So it's remedies out here. We just gotta be knowledgeable, and that's where they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So it's ways you can get out of your situation, but if you don't know, you ain't understanding the law. That's not our fault. It's just business as usual then. So it's like, and you just got all this research that the Moors ran the major 3 places. So, and they've been here, some of them been here, some of them been traveling. Don't make no difference which one you pick, you are a part of, you one of them. Whether you came here or whether you've been here, you are part of the Moors, part of that empire. And if you don't correct your status and step into your truthful place, then saying you honoring other gods, you're not honoring your own gods. And that's why you're having this generational curse, because you keep thinking you something that you're not.
Well, you got to keep in mind that, again, the Moorish Empire, where Abu Bakr came from, he did not come from Morocco. He probably wasn't even cool with Morocco at that time. They were from the Song.
I don't care about who ruled, because they was Moors too. The people who ruled was Moors, and the people that was on the lands was Moors. That's what I'm talking about. You are a Moor. Yeah, your nationality was a Moor. That's what we're talking about. Your nationality was a Moor. We ain't talking about your tribal membership right now, your affiliations or none of that. We're talking about your nationality, which is the Christian power or the Moors. Those are the only 2 nationalities. The Christian powers or the Moors, and then all these other nations and stuff that they created and all this stuff, that's another story. But nationality, like I say, if you got melanin in your skin, you are a Moor. If you don't have no melanin in your skin, you are a Christian power. Now, whatever tribal affiliation.
About the way you're talking, the Songhai were not. People could be whatever they wanted to be, and under the Songhai, and that's why Morocco went to war with them, because they didn't see them as real Moors. So they had some little religious dispute, and they wanted to establish trade through controlling the Songhai through Portugal, because they would have controlled the Songhai, they would have instantly controlled Portugal, which would have led back into Europe. So they shouldn't have went to war with the Songhai, but that's another day. We can talk about that. But Songhai had different practices. The Morocco, and they were closer to Saudi Arabia, and thinking that they also had more Arabs in Morocco, and they were about religious dominance. Songhai only tried to do it once, and that was under Askia Muhammad the first. I want to say it's the first. Askia Muhammad is his name, and he was a Berber. And yeah, Askia Muhammad the first of the Songhai. So look into this brother here. He was the only one who tried to Moorize, turn everybody into a Moor, and it didn't work. It was kind of futile. But that was the closest they came to, the Moors ruling everything. Once they came over here, they were no longer under that system. They were themselves. They practiced their religions, their tribal sacrifices. You had a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. That's where the divide and conquer came into play. So once we say your nationality, like I said, Moors or Christian power, and then we start dividing into nations. Then you start dividing into tribal affiliations. And then you start dividing into religions. Oh, my religion practice this, his religion practice that, and you getting crossed, and everybody getting confused.
Here it is right here. Did he ever control Songhai? Askia Muhammad gained control of the Songhai through battle.
Because we had our nationality before we had any religion. All religion has a founding date on it. They tell you when it started.
Oh, well, not all religions, but I get your point.
All all religion has a founder. I don't care if it's Christianity, the Quran. It has a founder, and it
Who
has a when it
founded
was
who founded the
yeah
Orishas? Who founded
when it
the
was
Orishas?
started. They telling you when it was started. When that whole ideology, that whole system, or that whole culture came into play.
Because you have to understand a lot of this stuff was done through oral tradition. If you look up who founded the Orishas, it's gonna say Olodumare, basically God. Olodumare is the supreme being in the Orishas, and you from this religion you get Hinduism, you get Santeria, you get all the now Hinduism a little differently. Hinduism a little differently. You get the Greek gods, you get the Greek gods directly from the Orishas. All that stuff goes back to the Orishas, and the Orishas goes back to the Egyptian religions and how they do things because there's a lot of parallels. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of
And
different
that's
things. I
why
think.
and that's why conflict of interest came into play. Oh, you like to marry your women's at 11, but in my tribe we don't play that type of stuff. And then now we were like, oh, well, I want my religion to stand. Like no, man, you can't change my religion. Now niggas warm.
Yeah, like the song, hey, they were doing really good. They kept things under control. All right, Prawn. Let's see, fam. They kept things under control for
Or,
sure.
or some tribes had to practice. We eat our dead, or we eat motherfuckers. Whatever the fuck they practice in their culture is, and then they try to put it on other people's culture, and now they got everybody else doing it. Okay, get you a nose job. That's part of your culture. That's not part of my culture. Get your butt implant. That's not part of my culture. I'm already perfect. He made me perfect already. What the fuck is you talking about? So they get you to be a Democrat, a Republican, and take up their culture. Once you become a Democrat, once you become a Republican, once you take up some more, once you become LLGB community, once you become all Black Lives Matter, we're gonna create our culture, and this is how we do things. We do weird shit, and all we have to do is just say, "Forgive me, God."
Yeah, like when it comes down to it, like our people, what we need to work on as like regardless of what people think or believe or whatever they want to call themselves, um, is reparations. That's the only thing we really work on as a people. Build that block of we're not going to move because all that stuff is data. You can pull it online and you can see the hashtags BLM, hashtag hope when Obama was running. And when people see these things, it's worded, it lets them know, okay, this is what we need to do to win this election. And they're going to make those changes and adjustments. Like right now, I believe the Democrats are going to pull out the bag. They might just legalize cannabis throughout the whole United States. Why would they do that? Because then what's going to happen? The people who smoke weed, whoever, they're going to be indebted to the Democratic Party. They're going to worry that, hey, the conservatives come back in office. They're getting rid of it. So, because they automatically are on the opposing side. I think it's more so smart to say, hey, these guys do it. We're going to just let it go, which that's probably what will happen. Like gay marriage. Gay marriage could not be overturned, no matter how much hyperbole they say. The Republicans will not touch it because they don't want to be seen as that they do this, we're taking it away. Even if that's in their hearts, they know it's a bad business move. So
Right.
whoever legalizes weed throughout the whole United States, that's a secret block. That's a potential block to be played. Like they tried to turn DC into the 51st state. DC has historically always been a liberal Democratic area. So why did Republicans fight so hard to make sure DC wasn't a state? Because that would have went into the electoral college and they would have always been voting Democrat. The electoral college, only thing it does is they're the person who basically has the seat to go with what the state does, and they don't go against it. They can't go against it. So, because that's what the state says. So they're just basically doing their job. Electoral college. Electoral college is just a way to count states and populations. And DC, if it would have counted, that would have been an easy whatever. It would have been 3-5 points for the Democrats. It would have been a given. So they wasn't going to allow them to up their numbers. Like, so that could be a secret play. That's why we need to always focus on reparations. Hashtag. We see a pollster out there on the streets telling people to vote. They ask you if you're voting, say no. They're going to ask you why. You can register. It's easy, blah, blah, blah. I'm not voting until there is no reparations, no vote. And when they hear that, they're like, oh, one of them guys.
When you get into once you get into reparations, you have to get to get into reparations. We have to get the understanding, because we got to get the understanding that the birth certificate is a bond. It's on bond paper. It is worth money. They never showed you how to.
It's not about birth certificates. It's about the fact
it's about
that
getting. I'm telling you, it's about reparations. You said I'm trying to get you to the money, bro. That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you to the money.
I'm telling you how we get to the money. I know how we get to the money.
Tell me how we get to the money.
Like I said, we live in a digital age. They can see everything. They see all our conversations. Bigo, TikTok, they're the #1 surveillance apps. That's why when you're going live, if you're in the blinds too long, they're going to end your live, because it's all about surveillance that they can sell to the Chinese as well as United States government. So we have to build that block. They hear the conversation. Same way of Barack Obama. Like I said, people couldn't even pronounce this man's name correctly. And they've said that black man who speaks really well, I'm voting for him. And he has a weird name. They were saying all kinds of things about Obama's name. Some people just called him Hussein because they sound like a terrorist. That Hussein fella. We voted for Obama. That was a block. Black community came together for that. The gay community came together for gay marriage, gay rights, and they get it. They're winning, not for some pseudo intellectual conspiracy theory bullshit. They got it because they wasn't moving from their square. The black community has always been a community that you can throw things at them. Hey, you know, it's not now the nationality, religion, all that stuff is inside. That's why I see that as agent talk, because of the fact that no white person, nobody who actually decides anybody's fate is deciding off of nationality. It's off of lineage, but they don't say lineage because it's coded in, because we've been denied for so long, and people have powerhouses under them. If you are an immigrant to this country and you come with your dishes, we're going to make tacos, we're going to make some spaghetti for you, pizza. They come with cultural dishes. They're protected under what's called gastro diplomacy. Gastro diplomacy is the United States bring these people in, and you cannot take their food. No matter how much China, you go work for the Chinaman and you learn how to make the meanest motherfucking sushi, the motherfucking I can't even think of what it's called. The little bowls they be doing and all that. You make the meanest rice. You're not cut in. And say, for instance, they didn't have gastro diplomacy. How are you gonna get the ingredients? How are you gonna get the resources? Even if you have the money, they're gonna outprice you because you're black. They're gonna say, "Hey, charge them more. He's not even supposed to be in our business anyway," even though they're in our communities. So these things can only be defeated by us going for reparations, because then it's about status. It's about stature. We're at the bottom of the totem. We're third class.
Could you tell me how we go for reparation?
Yes.
How should we apply?
When you see a pollster and they ask you, are you voting? You tell them, no reparations, no vote. You go online on Twitter, IG, all these different places, YouTube, no reparations, no vote. You hashtag ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. You hashtag FBA. Now, ADOS is more stronger of a tag than FBA, because FBA is not truly seen as, even though I believe they have bigger numbers, is not seen as truly a fight for reparations, because it came from Tariq Nasheed. And Tariq Nasheed has different things he does, and he's not dedicated to the mission of reparations. ADOS is all the time. You look up anything ADOS is always about reparations. When you see people talk about FBA or Foundational Black Americans, what that does is those people, the people who talk about it or about it just as much as ADOS, they're not somebody like Tariq Nasheed. But ADOS from the top bottom, that's all they do. So when they see these hashtags, it's all quantified. You can look up analytics yourself, Twitter analytics. They have analytics machines that the number one product in America that is bought and sold is information. They want information. So when they see the information, wait a minute, Black people are showing just as much passion about this reparations thing as they did for Black Lives Matter and Barack Obama. Give them reparations. Somebody's going to do it, the left wing or the right wing. Somebody's going to do it because it's at the end of the day, it's about self-interest. They want to be elected. Barack Obama, I believe, my feelings aside, that he had a personal leaning for the LGBT, but he came into office, there's videos where he said, I'm not touching it. He said, America needs to decide that for themselves. And he knew at the time, this was during his first election, he couldn't touch gay marriage. But when the second go round, when you had Lady Gaga, all these LGBT people or advocates speaking out, and they said, Barack Obama, he said, Obama, do something. Do something. They challenged him. And they had these big ass rallies. They can see the numbers. They said, wait a minute, they can be all ours. They're going to be voting Democrat if we give them gay marriage. And they did it. And what did he do? It was like a few months before the election. And there was no, we're going to let America decide. He signed an executive order. And through an executive order, they got gay marriage. And that's why the Republicans won't touch it. Because if they do, that will antagonize that group. And then that group that's antagonized is automatically, they're hyped now. They're going to vote Democrat. So you've just given them those votes, which you don't know if they will or won't vote that way. It's better to be unsure than a guarantee they're going to vote this way because you fucked with them. Whoever gives us reparations, we're going to be indebted to that side. We're going to always vote that side. And they understand that. But there's no reason to give us reparations if we keep talking about nationality. If we keep talking about we're paying Africanists and we need to do for Africa. Africa has actually been talking about giving us reparations. They don't have the money. We just need the land. Just give us the land. And thank you, Real, for following. I'm going to follow you back.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, love. How you doing today?
Good. Continue. I'm listening.
Yes. So that's how, Brother Mouth, we get reparations is through that action of showing them that this is all we talk about. We've always focused on. You have a police shooting or killing. What we're talking about.
How much reparation do you need?
So Black Americans are owed anywhere from between $115,000 to $350,000. And we can easily get that money. Now, the money will have to be paid intergenerationally because slavery was intergenerational. So because it's intergenerationally, so there's no such thing. So take it off the table. It's going to bankrupt the country, all this other stuff, because we can finance wars and it doesn't bankrupt the country. But somehow when we give American citizens, where we know the money's not going anywhere else, it's staying right here in this pot. It's not going out. That doesn't
how much did they give out? Did the average person get when they was giving out pandemic money?
So I know that if it was around $300 or $600, you were getting about $1,200.
No, I'm talking about when they was had things where people had it in 4 different states and they was giving out 20,000, 40,000 and stuff like that. People was getting up 40,000.
Oh, you talking about the PPP loans?
Yeah. How much was that?
So the PPP loans were based around what you could try to prove, and so you had people getting different amounts. You had people getting like 20, 40, 50. $200,000, even $1 million. The guy from Pretty Ricky, one of the guys from Pretty Ricky got locked up because he did a PPP loan fraud and he got millions. Now we couldn't have gotten that. If we would have done the fraud, we would have got like 20, maybe 40,000. It's all in respect to who you are and what you can kind of prove. And since he was famous, a lot of famous people have businesses. So it's what the banks more or less would just go with what you say if you have the stature to back it up.
So a lot of people did get money, and we really didn't do shit with it then. So if they give out that type of much more money, you think we just go get more shoes and do more traveling and have more liposuction? And what you think we'd do with that type of money?
Well, like back to what I was saying. Okay, somebody was unemployed and they were receiving around $300, maybe $600 a week. That was double and sometimes even triple for unemployment because of the pandemic, because there's going to be a lot of people at home. And the stimulus checks was like $2,500 when they came out. They were sending them to people. So people got money, but that's not reparations. Reparations is I
didn't say it was reparations, but I'm just saying if we seen what happened when they did get some money. So we give them all of that money. You don't think they can just buy more drugs, buy more prostitutes?
That was survival money. There's difference between reparations and just survival money. That was survival money.
So that's survival money. Now we just giving you money. So now you just got money to buy drugs, more pussy, more goddamn throwing it in the club. That's what you need more money for?
No. So what you're saying is rooted in Black degeneracy. It's the belief that Black people deserve nothing. They come from nothing. And if you give them money, they're going to oppress the white man, or they're just going to go out here tricking the money because it's rooted in degeneracy. My first question every time I hear somebody brings this up is, what are you going to do with the money? Is that what you're going to do?
I'm going to give me some land.
I'm probably going to jack a lot of it. Yeah, I probably am. I'm definitely going to invest in cannabis and jack a lot of it on cannabis. Hell yeah.
So you say investing. So that number one thing that I hear from people, especially if they live in the hood, is they're going to move out. And what that does is a lot of our people from the video Malcolm and I was watching suffer from post-traumatic slavery syndrome, and that we need a calm place. And they've done plenty of experiments on rats to show that when you live in close proximities, projects, the hoods were never supposed to exist. Because the hoods is void of opportunities.
I'm not knocking on you saying we don't need reparation, don't need the money, but I just know that we need to get into a plan of what we're going to do with that type of money, because a lot of us going to fall in that type of money somewhere, one way or another, through luck, through chance, through, you know what I'm saying? We always make money. We fuck around and make shit. We generate money, so that's not a thing. We just got to get a direction of what we're going to do with the money once we start making the money or getting the money.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody has asked about the Jewish people. What are they doing? What are you going to do with your money, Jewish people or the Japanese?
They already know what they're doing with their money. They buying land. They buying stores. They buying. What you mean? What they doing with their money? You already see. So the same thing. They're just like anybody, man. Ain't nobody gonna give you no money if you don't have no plan of what you're gonna do with it. What you gonna do with it?
Let me say something, Seg, interrupt you guys, but are you saying that like the government to pay us money for the slavery time? There was Chinese time, there was slave. See, most of the people who actually built the country here was slave of all, not just Black, but there was Chinese, there was Japanese, there was all race, even Brazilians, even Latin. So
no, there was not.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that they will ever come to say, I'm going to have to play all the slaves that we had here. I don't think that's going to happen.
The slaves who built
it's just unlogical.
They descend from antebellum slavery. There were serfs.
They
That
pay
means that they were
slaves.
immigrants.
They
They were
pay slaves
immigrants
every
from all over the world.
they pay
But antebellum
they pay
slavery is very specific to deal with Black Americans, those whose ancestors toiled the cotton, the tobacco, who built the wealth of this nation. There was only one group of people that did that, and that was Black Americans. You will not
okay.
find history of other people doing that in this nation. We fought in every war. We fought in the Alamo. So we whooped the Mexicans' ass. Whoever's ass needed to be whooped, we did it for the United States, for America. So that's something that's very unique, and that's a debt owed. There is a class system here
It's
to where
frozen.
whites are first, immigrants are second, and Black Americans are
But
last.
then,
They say immigrants. Well, let me finish. They say immigrants
but
built
then we
this
also
nation.
have to think about all
That
the
is not.
Indians, all the
They
native
get
Indians here
reparations.
too. That we
They
stole. We basically all
right.
the land belongs to them, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, and they get reparations. They have their reparations. Black Americans never got a damn dime, and so with reparations, Black Americans, back to what I was saying, we built this nation as well as the wealth and everything of it. We are third-class citizens in this nation. When they say immigrants built this nation, that is a lie. That is a bold-faced
Whether
lie.
they will or
Because
not.
there are, and this
You
is
know,
why that's a lie.
they will have to
I'm gonna explain to you.
give the land
1
to
second.
the Indians. That means the blacks have to be out of here and the whites have to be out of here because
No,
the land don't even
Black
belong
people are already
to the
here.
white
Black people
American
are
here.
already here. That's the thing. Let me finish what I'm saying. There's 19,000 some odd cities and towns in this nation. 500 some odd of them out of that 19,000 are Black towns, cities, or enclaves where Black people live.
Yes, but it was taken from the Indians. All of us are
That's
here
what I'm
in
saying.
foreign
That's
land,
what I'm saying.
okay?
Let me finish what I'm saying. You're not hearing me out. Immigrants have built less than 2% of this nation. They have built less than 2% outside of Black neighborhoods, meaning that they had to build wealth or rob from Black communities. Look around in the hoods in the Black community. You do not see Black people owning land in their own communities, but everybody is able to come here from other parts of the world to oppress and profit off of Black people. This same strategy was used in Argentina and Brazil to keep Black people there locked out of wealth and opportunities. So this isn't
I just
anything
think
new.
we are in a foreign land. All of us are in a foreign land, and
We're
to
not
be
foreign.
charged
Black
them.
Americans are not foreign. We have unique DNA. Because you know how we know?
It doesn't matter what
Black
DNA we have. We came from a different
Black
land.
Americans have unique DNA.
We came from
What
Africa.
part of Africa do we come from? Where
We
in
stole
Africa
the
do we?
lands from the Indian here,
Yes, you stole it
just
from
like the
Black
white
people.
people did.
You stole it from Black people as well. There was Black people
There was no
already.
black in here. When they came, it was all Indian, native Indian.
There were Black
we
people
all
here.
here, it's like one stick trying to
we
charge the
don't
other
fit in the
stick.
category. We're not immigrants to this nation. For one, a good book for you to read is They Came Here Before Columbus, written by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. Amerigo Vespucci, Christopher Columbus, plenty of other voyagers and travelers who were European came to this nation, and they talked about the Ethiopians, the Black people here who warred with the Red Indians. They warred with them. So there was Black people already over here. So she didn't want to hear that truth, but that's what it is. People stop trying to other us. There's multiple ways they try to, and again, I say this because there is no argument for why we shouldn't have reparations. They have not given us reparations. There's absolutely no argument. Any argument, whether the argument you made, Mal, that was rooted in Black degeneracy, or the argument she made that Black people are somehow other, we're foreign to this nation, and only people who are already getting reparations deserve even more reparations. So there's no reason whatsoever, no argument that can be made. I've heard them all. And there's books, to break down all these arguments of why they're baseless. It's always rooted in something dealing with what.
Yeah, can I have a second?
Go ahead.
Okay. Black people get reparation every month, whether it's twice a month or whether it's once a month. They call it a welfare check, and they get bridge
That's not
cards.
reparations. You
If
know
you say
who's
it's
the number
not,
one beneficiaries of
if you say,
reparations? White women.
if you say
How
it's
is that
not,
reparations?
if you say it's
Reparations
not,
means this goes to this group and this group only. That's reparations.
if
That's
you say it's
not
not,
welfare system.
if you say it's not, then whatever you say.
It's not. It's technically not. That's not
But
what
like I said,
reparations is.
but like I say, you get money anyway.
So
Don't do
where do
shit
I
with
get?
it
Where's my
now.
welfare? I don't get welfare money. Do you get welfare money?
Yeah, every time I go to work, every time I do a job, that's welfare money. It comes from the government. It still comes from the government.
No, you work for that money. That's not
You still a welfare check. It
means-
came from it came from that birth certificate bond. It came from this land, which is everything that's free. So yeah, it's welfare money
That doesn't make sense.
because it's over your head, like the judge. Like a lot of shit be
You're
over
right.
your head.
You're right. That is over my head. That's something we can't agree on. What you said was when whoo, it's like it's not even on target. I could have jumped in the air like I was LeBron James trying to catch. I was jumping in the air like John Morant. I was gonna catch that one because I'm telling you, we are due owed a huge debt. I'm telling you how we get it.
I'm saying, even if I'm saying, I ain't saying you don't deserve it or black people don't deserve it. I'm saying is, what are you going to do with it? What are they going to do with it once they get it? Do they have a plan? Do they have a suggestion?
Yes,
or
black people do have plans. A lot of people are going to do what? Move out the hood. And what's that's going to do? Re-gentrify this nation, meaning that gentrification is dead because they can't pinpoint where we're going to move and displace these people. That stops that process because now they can move themselves. You see what I'm saying? Like we have
still
always
have to settle somewhere. Wherever you move, wherever you travel to, you're still going to be, generating a carbon print. You're still going to be generating, so wherever you go.
And I hope they keep the white man's face on every dollar. Don't try to blacken the dollars. Put a Harriet Tubman up there. Keep them dead presidents white because them same dead presidents are going to be buying real estate. They're going to be for people who are Israelite, Moors. They will then individually have the money and be like, you know what, guys? There's a ghost town. And this is the thing. Our people aren't in tune to this. We can buy towns. We can buy towns.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you on that level of thinking of yeah, for sure. That's what we're supposed to be doing with the money if we do get it, for sure.
But a lot of people are already there. They just don't have the money to do it, and that's why you have people like the Nation of Islam that the way they work and operate, they're able to generate the money, and they have the influence and power to make decisions for themselves. But even them, they're still hamstrung. Our universities are hamstrung. Like HBCUs receive zero federal funding, and the only way they get federal funding is under the liberals who say you have to take racist Ukrainians in as students. You have to give them refuge. Okay, now we're going to give you money. You see what I'm saying? We always have to make a deal with the devil to get something for ourselves. What reparations does for us, it gives us agency. We get to do things for ourselves. We get to call the shots. The same way the natives, the Jews, the Japs, the natives, the 9/11 first victims and responders, they make decisions for themselves. They're a powerful people. They're respected people.
And they definitely have documents in place.
Right. We have our paperwork that shows where we come from. All this stuff. Now, I'm going to play a video that will, let me find it. This breaks it down. And this is white folks. They breaking it down and show this is how black people get reparations. And this is how it's going to be done. There is no, and also they say how we're going to know who's Black American or not. It's very easy. Last names. But this video goes through it. It's just, they need to stop playing on our time because all these arguments are baseless. Reparations. Let me see if I can find it this way. And this, I think I want to say it was it Vice? I don't think it was like
Even like I say, even like you said, the LGBT community, they got shit done in law. Now, motherfuckers don't, like you said. But a lot of people don't want to, figure out what is their goal, or what are they going to be, what's their direction, or how they're going to take their tribal members, or how you going to be upholding, peaceful citizens, or whatever you want to call them, or whatever, productive people. And people don't want no structure. They want to be like, I'll do what I want to do when I want to do it, I want to do it. And that's where the conflict of interest is. Don't nobody move like that. The Chinese, they all move as a group. The Mexican town, they moving as a group. Mafias,
not
they moving as a
necessarily.
group.
Not necessarily.
Even
All
the
people
Crips
are
and
divided.
even the Crips and the blood, you know what I'm saying? They are a group. You know what I'm saying? So they got certain laws. They got certain laws that
The Crips and
officers.
Bloods are not one group. You have different blood sets that will kill each other. The highest propensity of gang members killing each other are those of the same gang, i.e. Nipsey Hussle. He was killed from somebody from his own set. You have Bloods and Piru. They're not the same thing. Piru is a Compton thing. You're not Piru if you're not in Compton and you came from the Piru sets. When people say Piru, Damu, and all that, is cute on an outsider basis, but when it really comes down to it in California, you have to be from Compton to be a Piru. Also, you have the Hoovers. You have the Hoovers who they're like Crips all go against them. You have the 20s, or the neighborhood Crips, the Rollins. They all click up, but I want to say it's the Rolling 20s that they don't agree with. So they're more divided than anything. And when you look at the mafia, they were never aligned with each other. All them white folks were different. Look at if you ever played The Godfather, it's all about killing other mafia sets. So we were never, nobody's truly aligned with each other. Look at Latin America. Oh, here it is.
Slavery. Decades of Jim Crow, how
Yeah.
60 which
hell?
white households in the United States. An
If-
average gap
if,
of
three people,
$850,000
4 people in the group,
some
and
experts
they just
believe
got, and they just
can be solved by something
If there's
long
four-
overdue. Reparations to the descendants of enslaved black people. But how do we even determine who's eligible for reparations? And can the struggle for reparations in other parts of the world teach us anything about what needs to be done in the US? To understand why there's a call for reparations, there needs to be an understanding of the scale of slavery. It was a crime against humanity in which around 400,000 people were forcibly brought to North America. Over the centuries, 10 million enslaved people were legally treated as property in the United States, brutalized and ruthlessly exploited for free labor, which was used to establish the country as a leading global economy. In fact, one historian estimated that by 1860, enslaved people were, quote, worth some $3.5 billion, making them the largest single financial asset in the entire US economy. That's around $115 billion today. When slavery was abolished in 1865, 4 million formerly enslaved African Americans were freed. But through their forced labor, they'd created billions of dollars in generational wealth for their captors, and none for themselves. Back then, the US government understood the need for reparations and passed an order to distribute 40 acres and a mule to all formerly enslaved families so they could build wealth and financial security. However, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the allocation and returned the land to former slave owners. One way to reckon with America's past and current wealth disparity is through reparations that close the racial wealth gap.
You should make direct monetary payments to the eligible recipients.
That's economist William Darity. He co-authored the book From Here to Equality, which outlines one of the most comprehensive plans for what material reparations could look like.
So we estimate that this would require an expenditure of approximately $350,000 per eligible recipient, you get a figure of approximately $14 trillion.
Reparations for the crime of slavery and its legacy have long been a subject of national debate.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea.
And I think they're using what academics would call the theory of distance, that something is too far in the past to have contemporary application.
She shouldn't be speaking
So
on it.
it's
She's
easy
Caribbean.
to see why Congress
They have
has
their
yet to
own
pass
reparations
H.R.
plan,
40,
not the
a bill
US.
that was proposed all the way back in 1989. It would set up a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery and its subsequent racial and economic discrimination against African Americans. And while you cannot place a monetary value on slavery and its lasting effects, there's a precedent of reparations programs compensating victimized communities directly. Back in the US, the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 designated $20,000 payments to Japanese Americans who survived internment camps during World War II.
The U.S. government has also made payments in instances where it was not the culpable party. Payments made to families that lost loved ones during the course of the 9/11 attacks, as well as payments that are being made to individuals who were held hostage in Iran at the end of the Carter presidency.
Up to $4.4 million per hostage or their estates. In the case of slavery, the US government did promise reparations. It's just reneged on it. In fact, when the US dollars per hostage or their estates. In the case of slavery, the US government did promise reparations. It's just reneged on it. In fact, when the US finally issued an apology for slavery, it included the disclaimer, "Nothing in this resolution authorizes or supports any claim against the United States or serves as a settlement of any claim against the United States." Nor did the US ever provide true reparations, a process consisting of three things: acknowledgement, redress, and closure for grievous injustices.
It's vital that the federal government issue an apology because that will create the justification for the redress plan that follows.
That brings us to who would actually receive reparations. Those direct payments would go to the roughly 47 million Americans who identify as Black. But under Darity's plan, the requirements are a little more strict. First, Black Americans would have to have identified as Black, Negro, African American, or Afro American for at least 12 years before any reparations plan goes into effect. And they'd have to prove that they had at least one ancestor who was enslaved in the United States. One way to do that is using the census. If your ancestor was present in the 1870 census and was old enough to have been alive in 1850 or 1860, but you can't find that person in the 1850 or 1860 census,
that would suggest that they were probably enslaved.
That's because before slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment, enslaved people were not counted in the census.
They're actually missing people from the 1850 and 1860 census, and their absence there is a potential indicator that they were probably enslaved.
But while Darity's plan has received traction, it still faces opposition.
The impression down here is that Caribbean people who live in the United States, Black people, would not be entitled to any reparation paid by the US government. But we are saying that's not right. We are saying that's divisive of the Black population in the United States. We are saying that Caribbean immigrants have been harmed by that system through racial profiling, discrimination.
See, the Black population in the US is pretty diverse. Most Black people are foundational Black Americans, meaning they're American descendants of enslaved people. Others are immigrants or the children of immigrants who came to the United States from mostly African and Caribbean countries. Those individuals may have ancestors who were enslaved, but wouldn't be considered eligible recipients for reparations in the United States.
Descendants of the enslaved have a claim that's linked directly to the failure to provide their ancestors with the promised 40-acre land grants. And that's uniquely a debt that is owed to the individuals who were enslaved and it was not met, and to their descendants. The second reason that's somewhat related is the fact that the current or existing racial wealth gap in the United States is a consequence of policies that have been pursued by the federal government that built white wealth to the detriment of black wealth.
A major policy Darity is referring to is the Homestead Act of 1862, or H.R. 125, legislation to, quote, secure homesteads to actual settlers of public domain. The policy incentivized citizens to move onto and settle land that had been violently stolen from indigenous nations. It provided 160-acre land grants to